My name is Monique Manzanares. I, along with Lorena Parker, will be your moderators for today. Lorena is from DPOA. Today, our forum is sponsored by the Pomona Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Pomona's Owners Association. On behalf of Pomona Chamber and DPOA, we'd like to thank you all for attending. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you guys see?
Your homepage is on there.
There we go. Okay. So I do want to remind you guys that the Pomona Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Pomona's Owners Association are committed to maintaining public confidence and the integrity of the electoral system and impartiality of election officials. We do not endorse any candidate. I would like to go over the rules at this time. House rules: candidate posters, t-shirts, buttons, signs, etc. will not be allowed during or after the forum. We respectfully refrain from excessive exuberance for or against a particular candidate. No vulgarity, slander, cheering, jeering, or booing allowed. The forum flow: each candidate will be given 3 minutes for an opening statement. 1 minute will be allowed for each question directed to the specific candidate, and the timekeeper will communicate via chat for 30 seconds when their time is almost up. And please stop when your time is done. I just want to go back and I want to make a correction that we will give the candidates 2 minutes to respond to the questions. Candidates not adhering to the forum ground rules will be considered out of order. Penalties may include immediate loss of screen time privileges. Reminder: all questions have been pre-selected and no questions will be fielded from audience. The questions for the candidates were pre-selected, as I mentioned, from a group of committee volunteers. We also will be not accepting any questions from the audience. I would like to make note that this forum is being recorded in its entirety and will be posted on the Chamber website. I do encourage you guys to visit www.pomonachamber.org. As moderators, Lorena and I will do our very best to ask as many questions as possible. I also must note that we will pose questions that are fair and will not single out any specific candidate. Candidates, please know that personal attacks will not be tolerated. Violators will be subjected to dismissal from this forum. This includes during your opening closing statements. We ask that you stick to the issues and nothing more. Just a little background: the Pomona Chamber of Commerce the city of Pomona was incorporated in 1888 and has council city manager form of government. Pomona has a population just over 160,000 people and occupies an area of 22.85 square miles. The city has approximately 39,000 households. The city council is composed of a mayor and 6 presenting precincts or districts throughout the city. Each council member is elected by voters in his or her district. This year, on November 3rd, Pomona voters will elect a mayor and 3 council members. Today's forum is meant to present the mayoral and city candidates to hear from each of them about their plans for the city if they are elected. Our candidates today are in alphabetical order. At this time, I would like to welcome Mr. Jesus Villagomez. You guys could just bear with us while we get him on the line. We'll give it a few more seconds. There he is. Did he call in for audio? Unfortunately, we still cannot hear Mr. Villagomez. I'm going to go ahead and put him on hold while we try to figure that out. In the meantime, I would like to go ahead and hand it over to Mr. Tim Sandoval. Mr. Sandoval, can you hear us?
I can.
Very good. You have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Good morning. I'd like to just take a moment to thank the DPOA and the Pomona Chamber of Commerce for convening this candidates forum, and I want to wish all of my fellow candidates all the best. The hallmark of my leadership has been bringing people together. As all of you know, Pomona has tremendous assets and it has challenges. And I think the key is, what type of leadership is this community looking for? And I believe that I've exemplified that type of leadership over the past 4 years. For example, shortly after I was elected mayor, the community made it very clear that they were tired of being the dumping ground of the region. And we wanted to make sure that we limited the number of waste and recycling businesses. So shortly after I was elected, we banned all new waste and recycling businesses because, as I said, we are not going to be the dumping ground for the region. We brought together a group of community leaders around the environment and put together an application called the Transformative Climate Communities, which is intended to go after a larger grant that would address some of the environmental issues in the city so as to reduce our carbon footprint, which includes affordable housing, bike lanes, sidewalks that are more walkable, and ultimately to more trees in our community. And we actually received that planning grant and are currently working on it today. And a group of community members came to the city council and said, we want an eco farm. And we worked with them to establish an eco farm in South Pomona near Wellfulch Park. On housing, we just didn't talk about housing, we did it. And we approved a number of affordable housing developments, including across the street from our police station, that will result in 50 additional units. This is on top of the units already on East Holt Avenue and South Gary Avenue. And I'm absolutely committed to make sure that as we develop the downtown, that it be inclusive of our working class residents. You will see market rate housing happening up on Bonita and Gary as a result of some of the efforts to bring the goal line to the city of Pomona. And you will also see it near the Target as Vandalay is building several single-family detached homes for our community. We've made strides in economic development. As I said, I chair the Foothill Gold Line Construction Authority, and we were able to get the dollars to bring the gold line to Pomona when, in fact, we were short several $1 million. And we fought, we came together as a community, and we brought those dollars. We've also improved on our homelessness situation. There's more work to be done. But by building a Hope for Home, we've created a place where people can get their lives back together. And lastly, what I believe I've done, is created faith and trust in government. I've been accessible, I've been open, and anybody can call me. And that to me really reflects my leadership, is that irrespective of whatever power may have been in the past, is that anyone can call me and I'll do everything I can to help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did we ever get Mr. Gomez's audio working? Monique, can you hear me? Monique, can you hear us? Or maybe she's trying to get the audio working for Mr. Villagomez. Well, go ahead.
So Mr. Nolte, is Mr. Nolte on the line yet?
We're not, Mr. Gomez isn't going to be able to join us.
Okay.
Monique, did you get Mr. Villagomez's audio working by any chance?
No, he has not called in yet. We instructed him to call in.
Okay, so we're going to have to move on.
Okay, Mr. Nolte.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead and start.
Good morning. I apologize that I'm a little bit underdressed for the occasion. I was out walking this morning and didn't get a chance to go back. I'm running for Pomona City Council because I'm excited about the rare opportunity we have right now to make real, fundamental, progressive changes in our city and our region. Progressive policies for me are policies that put people over profit by building wealth that stays in the community. They protect families against displacement by ensuring they can afford to stay in Pomona. And progressive policies insist that the best way to increase peace, health, happiness, and prosperity for everyone is to make our first priority improving the lives of essential workers and the oppressed. Mayor Sandoval and his team have made important progress, bringing together forward-thinking leaders from different sectors, business, residents, city departments, congregations of faith, nonprofits, healthcare facilities, and educational institutions to envision and begin creating a Pomona that will be more beautiful, prosperous, and desirable in the coming years. They're building on the general and corridor-specific plans that I helped develop and enact when I was on the council. They've advanced plans to bring the Metro L line light rail to Pomona. They've added a fantastic downtown-specific plan and are making progress toward igniting downtown as the city's economic engine. I've been glad to see these plans progressing and look forward to adding my insight, creativity, and experience to the team as we lean into these plans, leverage the strength of cross-sector leadership, and bring in the investment in new housing and new enterprise that is critical to meet the city's desperate need for revenue to fund infrastructure reconstruction and beautification, recreational facilities, youth programs, and other high-quality social services and cultural events. Meanwhile, as Pomona improves, it is becoming more expensive, culturally unstable, and inhospitable to tenants and low-income residents who have invested their lives in Pomona's promise. As that happens, thanks to heroic community organizations and activists, tenants, essential workers, those experiencing racial oppression, victims of police violence, the undocumented, low-income families, community activists, artists, and young people, in other words, Pomona's backbone, heart, and soul, they've been awakened and energized to demand that the system be changed to meet their needs, improve their quality of life, and secure their future. I will stand with these movements, and at the place where they clash with the forces of gentrification, I will do all that I can to ensure that the necessary and inevitable development that will increase beauty and prosperity is balanced with policies that ensure housing stability and affordability, preserve diversity and culture, and encourage projects that build wealth, health, and happiness for Pomona's current low-income residents. I'll stop there. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte.
Ms. Entreveres-Cole, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Okay, you may begin with your opening.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if I have my video on.
It's not.
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon. Good morning, and thank you very much for having me here today. I am Elizabeth Ontiveros-Cole, and I'm seeking re-election for City Council District 4. I was born and raised in Pomona and a lifelong resident and retired nurse from Pomona Unified for 25 years. I'm also a former businesswoman of a paralegal business for the last 15 years. I've been an advocate, an activist, and a catalyst for positive change in District 4 and my city as a whole all my adult life. I believe in delivering results and not speeches. As such, I have accomplished much during my term, and I have been personally involved in recruiting and establishing new businesses for District 4. I'm a board member of Tri-City Mental Health, creating policies to promote good health for our residents. And I am also on the Human Trafficking Ad Hoc Committee that is striving for a safer environment along the East Holt Corridor, Garfield Park, which is one of the main key targets for our safety. I work closely with the HEART team and SET team to maintain law and order and a clean, healthy environment for the district and District 4. This is a very challenging issue that we as a city are facing, but we are working together to come up with a remedy to keep District 4, the city as a whole, and parks safe. All parks are important and must be maintained for our families to enjoy. Listening to the concerns of the community is vital to keep the city of Pomona vibrant. And that is what I have done for the last 4 years, and I will continue to do so when I become reelected. My vision is to bring more housing that is affordable and businesses where residents have a better selection of stores to visit and shop. Family-oriented businesses is needed for Pomona, and family-based recreation is essential. My vision for a skate park that I have introduced to a business person is a vision that we both agreed on, and I want to bring forward in the next 2 years. We can make our dreams a reality. I want the city of Pomona to advance in business, and that is why I continue to bring businesses to Pomona. My mission is to continue improving the city of Pomona and preparing it for the future while retaining its heritage. My reelection will continue to improve safety, street improvements, create affordable housing, and help in human trafficking on our East Corridor, East Holt Avenue. Thank you very much.
Monique, you're on mute.
Ms. Shara Stoic?
She's on mute also. There we go.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Chara Swodek. And I am running for District 4 to represent District 4 in City Council. For those that know me, for those that don't know me, I'm a wife, a mother, a business owner. I've been in the city for 18 years going on, and I have been a community collaborator, you can call it a leader, for several of those years, looking at the problems that we might have in our city and finding long-term sustainable solutions that last well beyond myself in this specific position. I am a supporter of dreams, of goals and milestones, and more importantly, the conditions of satisfaction toward those milestones. Here as a candidate to represent District 4 on City Council. I grew up in Pasadena, my middle school, high school years. I grew up my early years in Los Angeles, and have grown in certain areas, the rental community, Leimert Park before it was Leimert Park. That's part of who I am in the appreciation of historics and the appreciation of a community and how we can band together to actually see solutions in our city. In 2003, like I said, we moved to Pomona and we were not very engaged. It wasn't until my daughter went to school, actually she was preschool, where we recognized that our involvement in our community school right down the street 2 blocks from our home was vital. And in doing so, we spoke with our other parents at the school. We spoke with the teachers. We spoke with neighboring businesses to ensure that our little school actually was prosperous, that it wasn't the school because you had to go there. It was a school that we wanted to be at. And in that, got involved with the PTA at the time, which is over 100 years old now, and slowly started finding those access points in our school district, found those access points within other community leaders, also within the city. And I would like to bring those access points to our general public. I believe that is what a council member should be doing as a servant of the community, is showing where our access points are, empowering the community. So, educating them, number one, but empowering them to actually get the things accomplished that they would like to get accomplished, to be part of the room when we're making decisions. I say it all the time, imagine the possibilities. And those that have worked with me know that I'll come up with some crazy, fantastic idea, and we scale it according to our resources. Pomona has a lot of resources. Our city, our ideas, the programs, all these relationships that we have so many resources, and we can scale our accomplishments according to those resources. I've been part of building the 500 block in downtown Pomona, supporting businesses that have not really gotten the support in their little community, of collaborating with each other and making a name for themselves. Doing the Downtown Pomona Days, we started that several years ago, and it's continued. Taking over the LA County Fair with my Girl Scouts, silly things like that. Uh-oh.
You're good.
Okay, there we go. I know what it is to have an idea and creating milestones and seeing those ideas to reality. I know what it is to collaborate and work with the community, work with staff, and building those relationships. And I believe we can do that in this position. I know we can do it in the position. I thank you very much for allowing me to be a candidate. I appreciate those nominations. I appreciate the conversations that I've had as we walk around the street and listen to the community, and finding what are their concerns.
Tara, you have exceeded the time.
No, thank you. I just want to say I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I believe Mr. Jesus Villagomez, we still do not have him on the line. I just wanted to confirm, Lorena.
Unless if he
No audio?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
we've tried several different ways to try to get his audio to work.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the next phase of this candidates forum. Right now, we will go ahead and we will start the questions. And Lorena from DPOA will begin the first set of questions, and we will start with Mr. Tim Sandoval.
Great, thank you. And
I just wanted to remind
the mayor to turn on their cameras.
And then also, the candidates do have 2 minutes to respond.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you again, everybody, for being here. So the first question that I have is, what is your primary motive for seeking re-election at this point?
Thank you. My primary motive is to continue the work that I have done over the past 4 years and the 15 years leading up to my serving as mayor of Pomona, which is to serve the residents of Pomona, to create the conditions where every single person, young and old, can realize their full human potential. And the only way we're going to achieve that is by working together. Sometimes in politics, it can be incredibly divisive. It's easy to tear people down. But I place tremendous value on working with people, by partnering, by collaborating, by encouraging ourselves to be our very best. And there's this tremendous culture in the city of Pomona that is just like that. From our CBOs to our school district, to the city, to our residents who are given everything they got to make this a better place. And so I'm not finished yet. There's a lot more work to be done. We need to continue to work together to improve the lives. And that's part of our history here in Pomona. And I always tell folks that I'm incredibly proud of this city. When somebody gets injured in Claremont and they need a place to go, they go to Pomona Valley Hospital. Somebody suffers a traumatic brain injury in Walnut, Where do they go? Perhaps they go to Casa Colina. Somebody has a social security issue or job issue in Laverne. Where do they go? They come to this city. And perhaps if a young person wants to be able to afford a quality education and they can't go to Harvey Mudd College, where do they go? To Cal Poly Pomona. This is a city that is about serving more than itself. And I want to continue to be in service to the residents of Pomona. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, what do you see as are the primary issues within our city, and what is your plan to resolve them? So the primary issues.
This question is for you, Mr. Sandoval.
Right. Uh-oh. I have a mute.
Just so I understand the format here, am I going to answer all of these questions right after the other?
You are going to answer them all. We were originally going to toggle back and forth between you and Mr. Villagomez, but at this point, we are unable to get his audio working. So we're going to run through the questions with you. Unless if we, get his audio working,
I understand.
We can revert back to the original format.
Yeah. So the question again is, what do I see as the primary issues within our city? And
right, yeah, I can repeat the question. What do you see as the primary issues within our city, and what is your plan to resolve them?
So I think that one of the things that is critical in the city of Pomona is to increase the revenue into the city so that it goes back out in the community. And an example of that would be clearly economic development is critical to our city. We need to see good development happen here, and we are seeing good development happen here. As I shared earlier, I've had the privilege of serving as the chair of the Foothill Gold Line Construction Authority, and as many of you know, the Gold Line was not coming to Pomona as a result of a shortage in funds. We fought, and we were able to secure the funding to get the Gold Line to Pomona. What that will mean is investment in that Pomona North Station area. There's already a development that is going on there, but we have to continuously try to make sure that no one is left out, that there are opportunities for people to be able to afford. So economic development cannot be seen as exclusive. It has to be seen as inclusive. Also, second, COVID recovery. There are going to be a lot of families and individuals hurting. I put together a COVID-19 action committee made up of over 50 plus community leaders to make sure that nobody goes homeless, that we get dollars into the hands of our renters, those who have a mortgage and they're struggling, also getting food to folks, but also making sure when we get past COVID is how do we continue to support our residents who are having this difficult time. And last, to retail, to micro businesses, which that process is just wrapped up and 4 licenses have been awarded. That required the community coming together to share their concerns, to express what they wanted. And what they wanted is what you see in Measure PO, 1,000-foot distance from sensitive uses, good paying jobs. So it's not just about having jobs, but it's having good paying jobs, listening to the community. That does not exist with Measure PM. Low standards, low bar, illegal dispensaries that are currently in our city, that are causing us trouble, that are costing us money, can apply. That is unacceptable. That is not the standard of the city of Pomona. So I encourage everyone to vote Measure PO and to vote down Measure PM. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My next question is, what kind of economic development projects would you promote in the city?
I'm sorry?
What kind of economic development projects would you promote in the city?
Well, I think that whatever type of economic development that we promote in the city has to be inclusive. So for example, let's take the downtown and the downtown specific plan update. As many of you know, the city in partnership with the downtown owns a number of parking lots. My view is that those parking lots need to be developed for the purpose of bringing more housing to the downtown. It is clear from the lack of activity in the downtown, aside from some really great efforts to bring people together like Second Saturday, is that we need more people living in the downtown. But we don't just need anybody living in the downtown. We need to make sure that it's inclusive and that working class families can afford to be a part of that renaissance that is happening in the downtown. And as policymakers, we have the opportunity to do that. That's currently what's happening across the street from the police station, and that we'll have over 50 plus affordable housing units. We need to continue that. Our artists are critical to development, right? And oftentimes they're priced out of the opportunity to be able to live and to work in the downtown, particularly as more and more development comes in. We have to change that. We have to make sure that part of the equation is that we have opportunities for artists, young entrepreneurs to be able to live in those areas and participate in the renaissance of the downtown. That's just one example. There's many more, but you gave me 2 minutes.
Well, that was going to be my next question, but you just answered that question regarding the artists living, working. Yep. So I'll just move on to the next question, and which will be our final question for this section. Is the downtown led the charge to create a public art requirement on all city development. Although the money has been collected, little has been spent. What will you do to expedite public art projects? And do you agree that the downtown needs to be a priority for public art in places like the Arts Colony and the underpasses?
Yeah, so I believe that we have seen more art put up in the city of Pomona in the last 4 years. And part of the reason that I believe that's happened is because of the Cultural Arts Commission. And I know my Cultural Arts Commissioner, Josh Wodek, has been at the forefront of simplifying the process so that artists can put art all over the city. And I'm committed to doing that. In fact, one of the things that I had called for as mayor is to make sure that we give opportunities for young artists to participate. Right? We have some tremendous artists both here in Pomona and all over the region, but right in our backyard, we have young artists, right, who can take their artwork and we can paint electrical panels, we can paint on walls, murals, so that in fact, Pomona, in my view, is the cultural center of the region around arts, around music, around dance, around poetry, around social activism, right? There's this great little bookstore called Café con Libros, in bringing people together. That's why I believe our downtown can look very different than what you've seen in other communities, because it in fact is inclusive, and that the artists are not just established artists, which is important, but that we also have artists that perhaps we've never even seen through the arts because of, and why that's important, that we make sure that it's inclusive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that includes my questions to you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it back over to Monique for the next section of this forum.
Thank you, Mr. Tim Sandoval, and thank you, Lorena. So now we will go ahead and go to our District 1 candidate, Mr. John Nolte.
Hi, can you? Hi.
We can hear you.
Good. Are you asking me questions?
Lorena?
Hello?
Hi. Lorena, can you go ahead and...
Oh, sure, no problem. I think I was momentarily muted there. All right. All right. So the next section is, some of these questions may sound familiar from the previous session. So here we go. What is your primary motive for seeking office?
I am seeking office because I'm excited about the possibility of making real changes in the next 4 years. And frankly, many of you know that I was on the city council 2012 to 2016. And the city's improved a lot in the last 4 years. And I credit, Mayor Sandoval and the work that he's done to bring people together. That didn't happen when I was on the city council before. It was not a functioning unit in the way that I've seen it now. And there's more leadership, and there are things happening that are going to lead to improvements in Pomona. And as that happens, I've spent the last 4 years, and even my time before that, as a community activist, as somebody who works closely with people who are trying to improve the lives of the most vulnerable in our community. And so as Pomona improves, as we all want it to do, my motivation is to be a voice another voice. I'm not saying other people aren't this voice, but to be a solid voice with ideas about how do we make Pomona work for everybody. As it improves, how do we stabilize the lowest income, most vulnerable parts of our community so that they enjoy also the rise of Pomona's fortunes and can benefit, their families can benefit, their children can grow up here and enjoy a beautified, better, more prosperous Pomona. So that's what motivates me.
Great, thank you so much. My next question is, what do you see as the major issues and what is your plan to resolve them?
Well, I think that the issue of revenue that Mayor Sandoval talked about is critical, and I agree that we need to build housing in Pomona. I think that it's clear that to increase revenue, I mean, we can have more taxes, but we've pretty much maxed out about where we're going to get as far as that's concerned. And if we bring in housing, that will bring in people who have income, who will pay more taxes, who will bring more businesses. And I think that that's really the key. The key is to do it in a way that makes sense, focusing on the plans that we have, which I think are good plans, bringing people downtown and along our corridors into housing. So revenue is a major problem. I think in my district, Holt Avenue is just really needs a lot of work, and it has for a long, long time. People are frustrated with it. I have an office on Holt, and
you have 15 seconds.
It's a difficult place. My plan for Holt Avenue would be to create a West Holt Commercial Improvement District, actually based in a lot of ways off of the DPOA, that joins the businesses together, the tenants, the owners, into an organization that can assess itself and work together to improve Holt Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you. My next question is, if elected, how would you address crime in Pomona?
I think what I'd like to talk about there is, when I was on the city council before and since then, I have pushed for what is commonly known as Operation Ceasefire. It's a research-based intervention into gun violence. And my belief is that if we do what we know works in terms of policing, if we use the research that's available, our police can be more efficient, their community relationships will improve, and that will improve crime in general. I think that research shows that homicide dwarfs the effects on a community of all other crime, including violent crime. Violent crime in general dwarfs everything, but homicide even more. It just costs so much for every murder that happens. And there are proven ways to stop gun violence, which means stopping homicide. It involves basically the community, social services, district attorneys, probation, religious people, the city, all coming together to employ a balanced approach. This is not like a enforcement heavy approach, except in very, very targeted, directed places where violence is most likely to occur. So I will again push for funding and implementation of Operation Ceasefire to improve crime.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte. Next question. Abandoned buildings and vacant lots have a negative impact on neighborhoods and our economy. What combination of incentives and or punitive action would you support to encourage new development?
I think what the mayor said on that made sense to me. The only thing I would add is that I think each vacant lot has its own possibilities and problems, and so I would think about each one individually and find out who the owners are and talk to them individually about what we can do. I think about in my district, for example, next to Kiwanis Park, there's this lot that's been there forever that, in my opinion, ought to be an expansion of the park. So, on that, I would be working with the city to see how can we raise money. Is it grant money that we need, or, what can we do to, annex that vacant land? There's the vacant land that I think the school district owns at Dudley and the 10 freeway. Also, prime real estate could be any number of things, a great development. I would be working with the school district to figure out what's holding that up. So I think each lot could be dealt with individually. And then the other thing on our corridors, the key is going to be figuring out how do we, bring together the lots so that so that developers can get enough land to get developments. And so, combining vacant lots with other properties is going to be important.
Thank you. My next question, Measure PM, the Cannabis Industries Initiative, would concentrate retail cannabis operations in the downtown and in particular in the Antique Row. This was done without the support and against wishes of most downtown property owners, businesses, the School of Arts and Enterprise, and Western University. What is your stance on Measure PM? What is your position on Measure PO that would place cannabis operations around the city?
I won't spend a lot of time here because I fully agree with what the mayor said. I mean, and somebody said you can't spell, or you can spell Pomona with PO, but you can't spell it with PM. I like that phrase a lot, and totally agree with that. One of the licenses, I believe, I actually haven't looked into it since it was finalized, but I'm pretty sure one of the licenses is going to be on Holt Avenue, pretty near where I work. And, I've talked to the UFCW, which is working on unionizing those jobs. I think that the work that the city has done is a balanced approach to cannabis, and I fully support that.
Thank you. My next question is, how do you view the role of the city in encouraging improved community relations with the police?
I think again, in our, people who are afflicted by violence and their lives need to improve in order for the relationship with the police to improve. We need to reduce homicide and gun violence, and we need to increase the resolution rates of homicides that have happened. Those things will increase the trust of the community, but also just building, instead of, I don't mean to disparage this at all. I mean, the coffee with the cops and the area meetings are great and should continue. But we really need to move into operationally, how is it that we create working relationships between the community and the police? Meaning, how do they interact with each other in terms of improving the lives of people who are, at risk of violence and involved in violence? And Operation Ceasefire really operationalizes those things. It makes it into a program that people can participate in, that has goals, that works, and that is successful. That, success and efficiency is what will improve police community relationships, in my view.
Thank you. And my next question, and this will be the final question, will be, education is a critical sector in the downtown, with schools like Western University and the School of Arts and Enterprise driving much of the downtown's revitalization. Now that Fuller Seminary has canceled its plans to move to downtown Pomona, what will you do to help the growth of current institutions and attract new ones?
I think that, I would first meet with these institutions and their leadership and find out what their desires and plans are to expand, and how they see themselves fitting into downtown as it grows and as housing moves in. And all of these plans need to be done in collaboration and partnership. So I would just communicate with them. I was really excited about Fuller Seminary, and I feel like we were this close. I think that something else will come along. I mean, clearly, if that institution was willing to do it, there's got to be another one out there. Let's find it. I'm sure that Mayor Sandoval and others are looking, and I will participate in that. Let's get that done and bring somebody here that can fill those spaces. And I mean, if they wanted it, somebody's going to want it. So let's make that happen.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate your answers, sharing your answers with the community. And then I'll turn it back to Monique momentarily so she can introduce our next candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John Nolte. Again, that was for District 1. Now we'll go ahead and do the questionings for District 4. Up first, we have Shara Stowick.
Okay. I don't understand why I'm going first.
And I'll give her, there's her video. Great.
No, it's quite all right. I was expecting Ms. Cole to go first, so thank you.
we'll probably toggle back and forth.
Yeah, that's quite all right.
Unlike the previous two, where we only had one, I will be toggling back and forth with the questions. Just so that if maybe the council member would like to turn on her video, so we don't have to be going back and forth. I don't know if she has the video option available, but when we get there, it might be better to do it now. So my first question is, what is your primary motive for seeking office?
So over the years, I've sat in numerous community meetings that cover a wide range of topics, placemaking or, a development of an idea, a community event, or city council. And so many times the statement has been made that there's so much potential here in Pomona. We hear about this potential, we can see this potential. Yet after so many meetings, we're still hearing about the potential. And I know the way that I work, I like and want to see and show the tangible, quantifiable objectives actually being seen. And so milestones and conditions of satisfaction, setting a goal long-term and working towards those mini wins, leading towards the reality of that objective. That is my goal. That is what I thought I could bring to the table, bring to the council, building relationships with the city staff, the community, actually speaking to the community, building those relationships with the chamber, with downtown, with the business owners, and the residents as a whole. So I thought I could do that and help realize this potential that we see in Pomona.
Thank you. Councilmember DeVers, if you would like to answer the same question, I'll repeat the question now. If you can take your microphone off of mute. Thank you. What is your primary motive for seeking re-election?
Thank you very much. My primary motive, my reason for running for re-election is to continue the momentum I've already started during my term, with primary emphasis on these particular key areas. Recruiting more business to District 4 and supporting and creating sustainability for those businesses already here. In order to provide revenue for services, we must both attract new businesses and maintain the current ones that we have in the city. During the next term, I will be establishing a business council that would further ongoing information, instruction, and mentoring through a collaboration with SBA and SCORE. Also, the Business Council will provide apprenticeships, mentoring, as well as earning while you learn, especially for our youth. Development and affordable housing is also a very key point in my re-election, to create more affordable housing for our constituents, particularly something in the atmosphere of what I'm working with now with Cesar Chavez for the East End and East Holt corner, which will establish 125 unit fourth structure for the people that need it, that are looking for a place of their own, with a sanctuary public park, creating a beauty. And also, this is something that is needed in our city. This is something that we are longing for, and creating this for our constituents is vital.
Thank you for that. My next question is, I'm going to be asking the council member the question first this time, and it'll be, what do you see as the major issues, and what is your plan to resolve them? So, council member Ontiveros, if you can go first on that. I will repeat the question. What do you see are the major issues, and what would be your plan to resolve them?
Okay, thank you very much. I think one of the most major issues that we have in District 4 is the human trafficking on East Holt. I'm on the Human Trafficking Ad Hoc Committee with the mayor, the chief of police, Lieutenant Cantonese, and other people that are trying to come up with a remedy. Although we know that human trafficking has been in the city of Pomona for many, many years, we are starting to really create an answer. Number one, increasing the patrol. Also, we have now have a creativity of LED lights that are being installed on East Holt, and this increases the brightness on this corridor, which really discourages human trafficking. When we got the new gas station that's on Clark, it is so brightly lit that nobody wants to be around that area. This is what is really creating a safety for our people in that area. So we're going to be bringing it out into the rest of the corridor. We're considering the no parking after a certain time on Holt Avenue, which will extend over to the Garfield Park and also to the other areas, the residential areas, which will cause more safety for our people. Also, educating the business person on the corridor and reporting whatever is necessary to help the officers and the set team itself, the traffic set team that we have with 2 female sergeants that are out there at various hours of the day that are bringing in answers, being part of the sting, which we are very successful with.
What time is it?
And that is something that is working very well.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Ms. Lodek, I will ask you the same question. What do you see as the major issues, and what is your plan to resolve them?
Thank you, Ms. Lorena. So as I've been speaking with the residents and business owners as we've walked around, especially more recently, we've noticed that there's several different concerns, that there is several facets of concerns within Pomona. Many of them ranging from affordable housing to our unhoused population, public safety to safe roads and walkability, our walkways, even ADA compliant, and accessible green spaces, the parks, loitering, and especially our vacant lots and what that looks like and how that brings the negative look in our areas. They all play a major role when we're looking at the well-being of the city. I believe if we were to focus in on our corridor, let me rephrase corridors, that being Holt, it's a huge item, that being Holt, that being Indian Hill, that being even Mills and Gary, specifically in District 4. If we can focus in there, helping to resolve some of those small business support issues, opening the possibilities for better housing opportunities, creating the spaces where it brings people walking in those areas, our families walking.
30 seconds.
Thank you. That can be part of a corridor-specific plan. That is part of a corridor-specific plan. Even a business improvement district like we've seen in downtown Pomona that works, bring that highlighted in especially in that Holt area. I believe when we focus in on our corridors, that highlights business safety, housing, walkability, green spaces. It covers several different items.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. My next question, I will continue with my question for Ms. Vodek first. The question is, Measure PM, the Cannabis Industries Initiative, would concentrate retail cannabis operations in the downtown and in particular in the Antique Row. This was done without the support and against the wishes of most downtown property owners, businesses, the School of Arts and Enterprise, and Western University. What is your stance on Measure PM? What is your position on Measure PO that would place cannabis operations around the city?
Thank you. I will say first off, I am voting in favor of Measure PO and voting a no on PM. And while I see and agree that PM, the Measure PM, is following state regulations, the measure seems to follow them at the very minimum. I feel that PO has done more to include the community over the last few years, reviewing logistics of running that dispensary, ensuring the safety and cleanliness and impact on the neighborhood. Both measures have their pros and cons. I do believe that. Even speaking, excuse me, even speaking with the resident, there's concerns about licensing and equitability on that. However, I do believe that yes, on Measure PO is much better to provide and protect Pomona.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask a very similar question. It's almost the same, worded a tiny bit different. Measure PM, this is for a council member. Measure PM, the Cannabis Industries Initiative, would concentrate retail cannabis operations in the downtown and in particular in the Antique Row. What is your stance on PM, Measure PM? What is your position on Measure PO, the City of Pomona's initiative that would place cannabis operations around the city? Councilmember Ontiveros?
Thank you. Well, first of all, let me say this, that Measure PO is an ordinance that the city council and staff took painstakingly consideration on what we needed to do for the city of Pomona. 2 years of creating this ordinance and really considering the residents, the schools, the churches, and other zones that would be affected by this particular ordinance. We crafted an ordinance where retail, cultivation, distribution, micro and testing businesses may operate and bring revenue to our city. We did not go into a situation where we were overwhelmingly deciding to have all types of businesses in every block or anything of that nature. We fine-tuned it to fit the city's needs, and that is what was so essential. That was the importance of this ordinance. Whereas in controversy, Measure PM is the total opposite. It has no restrictions. It's not considering the people. It's not considering the constituents or anything else around it. Without even notice, we had no knowledge that this was being created. So the city council, the city ordinance that we created put everything in perspective. We have an ordinance that will create good revenue, wonderful stores, whereas in vice versa, we do not even know exactly how these other stores will look as far as appearance, what they will entail. Do we have qualified applicants? All of these things were put into PO ordinance. This is what is creating this particular ordinance that will be essential. That would be something that would the city can rely on. And we have a perfect ordinance, Measure PO. And this is why we have been very careful as to how we had selected all of these things for the city.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm going to begin my next question with you as well. So my next question is, besides working with local agencies and task forces to discuss human trafficking and services to victims, what actions will you propose to directly reduce the demand for sex and drug sales along the infamous Blade?
Well, first of all, we have to have a comprehensive plan, and that is to work with our young people for better options. Human trafficking is something that is created because of the human traffickers, the pimps, the Johns. They prey on the vulnerable people who have been abused, runaways, foster children. They seem to have an attraction for these sets of groups that cause our human trafficking to become even more obvious. We have encountered young people in human trafficking. Our stings have saved young lives. They have saved runaways. They have saved people who have been kidnapped from other states. And the City of Pomona Police Department, they have encountered this and they've brought them into a safe place. We need to attack the human trafficking at the root. Provide prevention programs, things that we can have from, as a safety
30
net
seconds.
For support to prevent victims. We need to educate victims. When we discover the victims, we need to collaborate with nonprofits, Prototypes, which I work very closely with as a nurse, and House of Ruth, to train them, to educate them, to make them realize that they can be successful, that life is not over, that we can support housing, mental health services, and drug abuse programs for these people. It doesn't just stop in rescuing. It begins with programs that will help sustain their life.
Thank you. Okay, my next question, I'm going to go ahead and start with Councilmember Ontiveros. The question is, the question is, what would you propose to make the city more business friendly? In particular, what reforms in licensing and permitting could be made to attract more businesses to major corridors and in the downtown?
Business, very important for the city of Pomona. We've had many businesses over the past many years ago. We can still have that. We can bring that back. I think what we need to understand is we need to take the business person more seriously. The potential business person that wants to come into our city, we need to treat them with a little bit more of a softer glove, to have more a profound interest in what they want, their desire for the city. They have visions, they have dreams, and we need to bring that out by creating a more business-friendly Pomona. Maybe have a better fast-track plan for getting the plans and the permits and the necessary papers that are necessary to bring more business in the city of Pomona in a reasonable time, because we have so many other competitive cities around us that are looking for that business. And when they come to Pomona, we want to keep that in mind, that they are like a piece of gold. By bringing them in, we create more revenue. We also create a partner. We have them join our Chamber of Commerce, and by building that up, we bring a better Pomona, and this is what we need to consider.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bowdick, so I'm going to ask you the same question. What would you propose to make the city more business friendly? In particular, what reforms in licensing and permitting could be made to attract more businesses to the major corridors, including the downtown?
Hello? Okay. I believe in focusing with our, like the corridor specific, right? We want more businesses. I believe if we were to have something in our city specifically that is more of a package type deal that gives access and knowledge to people looking to have a business here, about the chamber, about the resources that are available to them, about supporting starting up a business, financial stability, things like that. I think if that was created as a package, even the idea and bringing more eyes to Shop Pomona, that was started just as a neighborhood. Let's share what's going on in our neighbors and build up the revenue here. I think that would help. I recall this, just thinking about Pasadena. Remember, I grew up there. I remember in the plans towards that Old Town Pasadena, the developer there spoke about first parking. You provide parking, there's a space for people to go. You have the restaurants because there's parking. You have bring in the cornerstone businesses. And
30 seconds.
They go to the restaurants, they go and they shop, and now multiple businesses and additional businesses, including the small ones, are all benefiting from this process. I believe in building our businesses and supporting those businesses. We really need to have a process that is tangible and is clear, really, when we're looking to actually support these businesses that we hold dear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to stay with Ms. Bowdick for the next question, so she can answer first. And the question is, abandoned buildings and vacant lots have a negative impact on neighborhoods and our economy. What combination of incentives and or punitive action would you support to encourage new development?
I'm taking a hand from John Nolte, but I do believe that the things that were spoken already by Mayor Sandoval and John Nolte are definitely forward movements in, obviously I'm not in the city right now. I'm not in to know what incentives are there, but I would absolutely advocate for incentives given to the vacant lot property owners. Maybe there's something we can do that opens that space during a certain period of time that they don't have plans for it just yet, but they're not looking to get rid of it, but it opens it up to the community. Whether it's a garden, whether it's markets, things like that. I believe it takes more conversation with those property owners. Certain things like fees being tagged onto their property taxes for those that have been empty for 15, 20 years. Though that's just silly, for lack of better term. It's just silly to me that we have allowed these lots to be empty. We've got to work with our school district, find out what their plans are with the city, with their properties. Even looking at our city properties, what are they and what plans do we have for them, and putting actionable steps to see them moved forward. Again, I mentioned adding fees to a property
30 seconds
annually. I think we've got to keep them, number one, beautified, but then we also need to bring in the revenue for the city long term. So hopefully that helps answer the question.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Council member, same question. Let me repeat the question. Abandoned buildings and vacant lots have a negative impact on neighborhoods and our economy. What combination of incentives and or punitive action would you support to encourage new development?
Well, this is a question that is asked time and time again. Number one, abandoned and distressed buildings have been tolerated too long in the city of Pomona. I advocate for more severe fines and for faster response from code compliance. If we were able to have more officers, I think we would be able to have that possibility. Unfortunately, we don't at this time. But we really need to begin to start thinking of a remedy as to how to create maybe a penalty of some sort toward the toward the landowners and business people who have bought property, who have sat on that property for 20, 30 years and have done nothing. We have to begin to start thinking of our city, what it looks like to other people when they come into our corridors and they see buildings that have been there for many, many years, nothing being done. Should we, if I had my way, if we had that possibility, I would love to demolish some of those buildings and create a level space. At least maybe developers can see the potential of what maybe they could possibly build there. You come into our city and you see abandoned buildings, and what discouragement is that for the viewer? We have probably, and I've spoken to many real estate people, that they can move a building a lot faster in another city, but when they come to Pomona, it turns people off. How do we turn people on? And I think by working with having community workshops
15
for
seconds.
people who want to start a business. It is not easy to start a business. You have to have money back up. You have to be able to create something for your city. Meanwhile, right now we have the post COVID, or we have COVID right now, so we're dealing with a problem.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. At this point, I'm going to conclude my questions, and I'm going to turn it back over to Monique for the next section here.
Sure. Thank you, Lorena. And thank you all candidates for answering the questions. At this time, we are going to go ahead and go into our 2-minute closing statements. We will start off with Mr. Tim Sandoval. Mr. Tim Sandoval, are you there?
I am. I want to start my video, but it won't allow me. So if you can give me permission. Okay, here we go. All right. Thank you. First, I just want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Pomona Chamber of Commerce, and the DPOA for hosting this candidates forum. It's really important that our residents and our business community have opportunities to hear from candidates. And as all of you know, there are not a lot of these forums that have been made available. So I really just want to express my thanks to both the DPOA and Pomona Chamber. I'm excited for our present and future because I have the honor of serving as mayor, and I get to see people who, particularly during this most difficult time during COVID-19, is people are stepping up. People are helping their neighbors. Institutions are helping their community members. People are delivering food to make sure that families have food. We are making sure that people can pay their rent during this difficult time. There are people helping their neighbors clean up their yards. There's so much work being done in this community by the people. And it is truly accurate when people say the power of Pomona is its people. And I have the honor of being able to work with people who are helping to make Pomona a better place. And what I believe our residents want is they want leadership that reflects their values, of working together, building each other up, creating opportunities for our young people to realize their full human potential, to make sure that our older residents are taken care of and that they never have to go without food or a community center to be able to go to. I see this happening every single day. And I believe that the bar has been set very high for our elected officials. It is not just enough to show up to a city council meeting, but you got to get your hands dirty. You got to get out there. And I believe I have done that over the past 4 years, just to listen and to act in the best interest of our residents and our community. And so again, thank you for the opportunity. And I hope that you will vote for me as your mayor for the next 4 years. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Mr. Sam.
participating.
Up next, we have from District 1, Mr. John Nolte. You have 2 minutes for your closing.
Hi, thank you. Thanks so much for putting this on. It's been a pleasure. Great to hear from everyone else. I think I want to say that if I was on the city council, I think that what I've seen, that the way that things get done is people set a goal, a specific goal, and they write it down and they commit to it, and then they go out and achieve it. For example, if we were to do Operation Ceasefire, we could say, at the end of a year, maybe 18 months, we could talk about it. We will have dropped gun violence 50%, city of Pomona. And we know that can be done, and we get the people together to do it, and we get it done. We could say, we are going to convene the anchor institutions, the large colleges, universities, hospitals in the region this year, and we are going to ask them to commit to directing their purchasing into our community and create, we could say, in a year or 2 years, 4 new cooperative businesses owned by local workers from the lowest income parts of our community. And we set that as a goal. We say, how can we get that done? I think that as we set real targets for ourselves, with the relationships that have been built over the last 4 years, frankly, there is a lot of potential in this city to do a lot of good. And I'm also excited about that. I think that in everything that we do, we need to maintain balance and remember stability. There's people who have invested their lives in this community who will be displaced unless we put in place the policies necessary to allow them to afford to stay here. And I'm committed to do that. Pomona has a bright future. Let's make sure that it's a bright future for every current resident of Pomona. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte. Up next from District 4, we have Ms. Entreveres Cole.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here today, to be able to give you my feelings and my desires and dreams and visions for the city of Pomona. It has been a wonderful, fast 4 years being the city council person for District 4. It is such an amazing position where I am able to reach out to my constituents and they're able to reach out to me. What a beautiful city that we have. It has so much potential. Being here all my life, I have seen it have its moments of ups and downs, but now we're up. We have even though we have the COVID-19 at this point, we have Activate Pomona that is bringing in businesses back to the restaurants. We have crime going down 35%. We have the beautification programs. Even though we're not out there cleaning the streets as we normally do, we're bringing in new trees. I'm adding more trees to my District 4. I'm adding 38 more trees to one particular street alone. This is what we need to do. Beautify Pomona. Engage our community. Let them know that we're on their side. We have so much creativity in this city. We have artists, we have musicians, we have design graphic artist people. We have our Saturday walk. We have so much in the city of Pomona, and we're going to be developing more creativity. We've always been part of. We have always been part of a wonderful a group of people, and we will continue to do so because more people are moving into Pomona. As I go canvassing, I see the people. They're telling me that where they're coming from. I am looking forward to a re-election to bring in more beauty, more jobs, more art, and more business, and more housing for our city. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Up next, we have Ms. Shara Swodek. Shara? You have 2 minutes for your closing.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So first of all, thank you, DPOA and Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum. Appreciate the opportunity to engage questions from the community and hear the responses from each of the candidates. So thank you very much for doing that. I will say that as a council member, again, we are public servants. We are looking to hear and do the best for our community. I think of it like a board at a business. You're like a membership-based business. You would listen to your members, your association, and you bring the best options to them. And you elaborate and you pull in the community to create those committees and the councils to build the best. I believe when working with our city staff in realizing their true role and realizing our role as a council member, what that looks like when we're engaging our community, I think that is huge. I believe we need to train and empower our community to identify red flags. When we're looking at human trafficking, I know I didn't get to touch on it, but you know, certain things like if there's less demand, it'll lessen the supply. We've got to blast the Johns for lack of a better word, but continuing to work with the organizations that support the exploited, that support the empowering people and the establishments. I believe also that we've got to work within the community to, you know, fill our empty lots. We've already been in conversations on Holton Clark and the easement to the Valley Center and what projects we can bring. And looking at our historic areas, how can we create them so it's adaptive reuse and we actually are using them to better our community without displacing our community. I believe there's so many ways that we can do it. We, like John Nolte said, is we've got to have the conditions of satisfaction and actually have a goal and plan in mind.
That is time.
Thank you. Thank you very much again. I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Okay, up next, I would like to invite those candidates that for either one reason did not originally qualify for this form or did not meet the deadline. I'd like to invite them to come and give a statement. First, we'll start out with Miss Deborah Martin.
Well, good morning, Chamber and DPOA. I want to thank all of you for this opportunity. I love Pomona, and I'm just honored to be able to have the opportunity to share my views. Growing up in Pomona Valley, I chose to get married, purchase my first home, and raise my 4 children in Pomona. As your current historic commissioner and former city council member, I have a wealth of experience and dedication to help Pomona grow. It is important to me that your voice is heard and that the decisions I make will be in the best interest of all Pomona. As an active member of the community for many years, a successful business owner and artist, my vision is to create safer streets and cleaner ones, revitalize our parks, work side by side with Pomona schools, and develop more youth programs. I will protect and preserve the culture, arts, and history of Pomona. I will continue to work for affordable housing, increase local businesses, create good jobs, and work collaboratively with our state and local leaders to resolve the outgoing homeless population. I will work with Mayor Tim Sandoval and the city council members to ensure positive leadership. I will continue to be accessible and responsive to all resident calls, emails, and attend neighborhood watch meetings. I will do my best to resolve their issues. I love Pomona, and together we can strengthen our community together. I'm proudly endorsed by Senator Leyva, Assemblyman Rodriguez, Hilda Solis, our Board of Supervisor, Mayor Tim Sandoval, educators,
30
labor,
seconds.
first responders, nurses. I am honored for all that support, but most of all, the community that has asked me to come back to serve for all of you. Thank you so much, and vote Deborah Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Okay, at this time, I would like to go ahead and go back to Jesus Villagomez. He is running for mayor. I believe we have his audio working now, so let's go ahead and go back to him if we can. Mr. Villagomez Campos, are you there? It appears we still do not have audio. Okay. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but unfortunately, Mr. Villagomez, we're not able to connect to audio. We do apologize on our behalf for that technical difficulty. At this time, this does conclude all of our questioning and closing statements from our candidates. The Pomona Chamber of Commerce, along with the Downtown Pomona's Owners Association, would like to thank you all again for attending, and thank you, candidates, for your participation. It is a privilege to vote. We exercise it on November 3rd here in Pomona, and I encourage you to vote for your candidate that you feel is most able to do their job. And so thank you again, and I hope you guys have a great day, and don't forget to vote November 3rd. Thank you.
I'd like to add one more thing. I want to thank all of the public that did submit their questions in advance. That really helped us formulate our questions for today. So I wanted to thank the public for attending and also for submitting their questions. Thank you all for being a part of this.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.